I am about to unveil a secret that 99% of bettors remain oblivious to, a concealed, almost forbidden method capable of turning losses into profit. And believe me, the bookmakers would prefer you never discover it. Yesterday, I turned $10 into more than 34 with a single wager, an odd of nearly 4 confirmed without the slightest obstacle. And today, I shall reveal everything. No sorcery, no luck, merely a strategy you can put into practice immediately. So stay attentive, for missing even a single explanation could cost you a fortune. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel at once so you never miss my insights. And join our Telegram group. The link is in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. Now observe the screen carefully. Here, a stake of 500 was transformed into 710. But take note, the first slip was refunded, and since I had combined 2 matches, the total odd amounted to 2. As the first match was reimbursed, I was paid solely for the second, still quite profitable. And this is no stroke of luck. I have replicated this outcome dozens of times using the same method. The key: mastering the handicap option. Today we shall dissect it together. Tennis differs from football. No teams of 11, merely 2 rivals facing each other. The contest unfolds in sets, akin to halves in football, and there is often a favorite and an underdog. Yet it is precisely here that the handicap option changes everything. The principle is straightforward. A player is granted either an advantage or a handicap in points. A concrete example: if a player loses 13-12, but you have given him a 7-point advantage, he finishes ahead with 19-13. Result: you win the bet, even though he lost in reality. Now, I know some of you are already thinking, wait, does this mean I can win even if my player loses? Yes, precisely. But the art lies in knowing when to add or subtract points. Look here, Cedric Marcel was not the favorite. Normally, he would lose 2 sets to none, yet I granted him plus 4 points. The outcome? In my wager, he finished ahead. And just like that, bet confirmed. Not only was he considered the underdog, but he went on to win the match outright with a score of 2-0. Imagine that. He was the weaker competitor against Alexander, yet he prevailed. Check the points. In the first set, 9 were scored, and in the second, also 9. This means the first player reached 12 points, and with the plus 4 advantage, his tally became 16, while the second player stood at 6. Final score, 16-6. Do you see? A validated slip. This is not luck. I selected this match because the 2 players were of comparable strength. That is the golden rule. Give points to the outsider only when his level is close to the favorites. Otherwise, you lose. Now, observe the second match. I applied the same strategy, but this time I gave 4.5 points to the second team instead of the second player. Of course, the second player did lose by 2-0, yet my coupon still succeeded. Why? Because I had granted him 4.5 points. In the first set, the score was 7-5. In the second, 6-4. Altogether, the favorite earned 13 points, while the underdog earned 9. By adding the 4.5 advantage, the outsider's total reached 15, overturning the result, 13-15. Thus, the bet was secured. Now tell me in the comments, do you prefer wagering on outsiders with a head start, or stripping points away from the favorites? You can also apply the handicap option to football matches. To fully grasp this, let me offer a clear example, and you'll understand it instantly. Imagine a match between Real Madrid and PSG. This time, Real Madrid is not the favorite, meaning PSG is expected to win. Suppose the match ends with Real Madrid scoring just once, while PSG scores twice. In our wager, however, we granted Real Madrid a +2 handicap, since they were the underdogs. In other words, we gift them 2 extra goals. Officially, in reality, PSG wins 2-1. Everyone knows the scoreline reflects PSG's victory, but on our betting slip, those 2 handicap goals are added to Madrid's single strike, giving them 3 in total. What does this mean? In our wager, Real Madrid becomes the winner. Had you placed your bet this way, you would have cashed in. Why? Because with the added 2 goals, Madrid's tally reaches 3, while PSG's remains at 2. Do you see? It's starting to make sense now, isn't it? The handicap option is nothing complicated, truly straightforward. The same logic applies here. Barcelona defeats Real Madrid 2-1. That's the real-world outcome. But in my bet, I had given Real +2 goals. Thus, on my slip, the result becomes 3-2 in Madrid's favor. Outcome: I win. Now a small question for you. If a match ends 1-0 and you gave +2 to the losing side, what does the final score look like on your betting slip? Answer in the comments. Now let's move into practice so that you truly grasp the concept, alright? For those who genuinely wish to make their betting profitable, activate your 1xBet account update with my promo code BOS32. This unlocks 30% cashback on your losses and a 200% bonus every Monday and Friday, starting from your very first deposit. Our goal here is to learn how to identify the stronger player, or conversely, the weaker one. That is precisely when we can place a handicap bet. Let's turn to tennis for this demonstration. Alright, here we go. Click here, select tennis. There it is, right at the top. We open it, and now we're in. Choose any championship you like. If you look closely, you'll see several matches scheduled to take place soon, correct? So what's the strategy? I'll show you that we can either grant a player a head start or deduct points from him. Now, let's examine how it works when we grant an advantage. Take, for instance, this match between Benjamin and Arthur. You'll notice Benjamin's odd is 1.8, while Arthur's is 2.09. And as you know, between an odd of 1.8 and one of 2.09, the difference is significant, yet it indicates that the two players are nearly at the same level. Yes, there is a slight favorite, but no overwhelming gap, correct? Now, this is precisely the kind of match where you should grant points in advance, but be cautious. You must always give points to the one who is not the favorite. Looking at this match, we see that the underdog is Benjamin. His odd stands at 1.8, while his opponent is less favored with an odd of 2. In this case, we place our wager on the non-favorite. Why? Because here, the difference between the two is not significant. Yes, he is not the favorite, that's true, but their level of play is nearly identical. Once you are inside the matches, what should you do? Scroll down until you find the handicap option. Be careful, there are several types of handicaps, but what interests us here is the standard handicap right here. We know the non-favorite is listed on the right-hand column with the higher odd. Therefore, we focus exclusively on the right column. We do not touch the left one, understood? Now my advice is to select the last two options. For instance, here we are offered +4 points or +4.5 points to the player. These are exactly the two choices I recommend. For those who are not yet comfortable with handicaps, pay close attention. You will also see options with -3.5, -3, -2.5, -2, -1.5, and so forth. A minus sign means you are removing points from the player. But in this particular match, the idea is to give points. So remember, to give points, only choose options without a minus sign. It's very simple. Here, for example, I granted +4 points to the second player, Arthur. On the other hand, if you wish to give points, never choose a match like this. Taylor versus Terrain. Jiri is the favorite with an odd of 1.13, while his opponent has a very poor odd of 6.9. Or take Luciano against Carlos. We never select these types of matches. Why? Because their levels are far too different. To grant points, the players must be close in ability. But with this kind of match, the approach changes. When a strong favorite faces a much weaker opponent, we don't give points. We subtract them from the favorite. That's crucial. Look again at this match, Francis Tiafoe versus John. You can clearly see that the first player is heavily favored. So here, you should subtract points from Francis. I recommend removing only 0.5 points, no more. Why? Because he will almost certainly win the match by a margin of 3 or 4 points, and we only need to deduct 1. Another example, Ugo versus Thomas. In this case, we should subtract points from Thomas, because his odd is 1.2, while Ugo's is 4. This means Thomas is the favorite, so we step into this match and take points away from the stronger player. Look here, I was about to validate an odd of 4. I had combined just 5 tennis matches, and a single game ruined the entire slip. You can see other coupons as well. In this one, nearly all the matches went through, only one was missing. Had it passed, the outcome would have been perfect. But beware, you cannot hand out points just anywhere. For instance, when a player has odds of 1.1 against an opponent rated at 7, it doesn't work. In that case, you must deduct points from the favorite. Remember this rule: balanced equals give points, unbalanced equals subtract points. There you have it, friends. I validated several slips in just a few days using this method. It's no miracle, it's a strategy. If you've watched this far, it means you are serious. Now it's your turn to take action. Subscribe, activate the bell, and tell me in the comments what type of bet you would like me to analyze in the next video. Together, we'll turn French-speaking bettors into the smartest and most profitable players around.